We want to welcome everyone to the Hooper City Council work meeting. It is Thursday, February 5th, 2026, and we appreciate you all being here. One thing before we get started, so we talked last time about this possible sewer grant that we could write. JUB would be writing that for us. And last time we had talked about that it could possibly, I showed those maps, that it could affect the west end, and he said he talked to his boss and they think that we could write the grant and that could also be for the east end, that it could possibly help with the sewer regional lift station, that place, also the force main. And so he asked, Taylor today asked that if we could have a letter signed by the city council. They will submit that with the grant, which is due on Wednesday. So that's what that is, a letter, and I apologize, I wrote it the last minute, so it's not my best.
I reviewed it. Are we allowed to send something like this in a work meeting? Is that a decision that we're making? I don't know how that works.
Yeah,
That's a valid question, so
Yeah.
committed perjury
is working on.
or something. And Sherry, you said February 5th.
We need the
Oh, I'm
agenda
sorry,
that is
February,
on
March
council
5th.
meeting.
I mean, it could just be passed around. This is a decision to. I'm sorry, I missed. We're catching.
So it's just, they're going to apply for a grant that could provide money for the sewer for future regional lift stations.
We don't have to use it if we don't want to.
You don't have
Right.
to use it
It's
if
our
you don't
commitment that
want
we're
to.
okay with the grant
Yeah.
being applied for.
If we're gonna make a decision as a council, it would have to be noticed up. But the council doesn't have to okay us
A support
applying
letter,
for the grant.
okay,
You can just apply for the grant,
yes.
but they individually can sign.
Okay,
Right.
yeah, that's what they had just asked, if we could have a support letter. I just
That'd be
found that
fine.
out today.
But it would
Or
be a
either
council
they, you know.
decision where it's going to go, whether it
Oh,
goes
for
to east
sure.
or
yeah.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
we decide.
Absolutely.
That's just saying, should we apply or should we not?
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
Yeah, you
just
can
saying we support.
individually.
should we supply for the grant in general?
Yeah.
Yes, in general. And if we don't like it, we'll
Yeah.
do it. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter.
Want to sign my name?
Okay, so let's get started. We have a lot of things to cover tonight. So you'll see the first thing is we have some possible creation of some ordinances. We've had some things that have came up that we've talked, staff, as far as do we need to have ordinances. One thing I would really like to do is we always discuss this as a work meeting, decide if this is something that we would like to have created or not, and then we can give direction to our legal counsel whether we want to or not. In your packet, you saw that there were just some possible suggestions of ordinances that, and Darren can certainly give us more explanation on these when we go along. The noise ordinance, we thought we already had a noise ordinance, but we have the party ordinance that referred to a certain lateness of night, that if there's too many vehicles there, but we don't per se have a noise ordinance. Weber County does, and then there's the one about the AI policy, and then also the social media. So we'll just turn it over to discussion, and if you have any comments or anything with noise or any of them, we'll just start with the noise pollution first.
I don't think we need one personally. I just think if we get a noise ordinance in here, is that we're going to have people pick every little thing that they possibly can, and they're going to start calling our city office help, complaining about all this stuff, and I think we just deal with it as it comes. And David shared there's something in the state of Utah already. Is that?
So Weber County has an ordinance. The state of Utah has no, I can't think of the word.
Like disorderly conduct.
Disorderly conduct ordinance that can be enforceable. I feel the same way. I feel like I ran even on a platform saying, like, I'm not interested in big government. We moved out in the country to live in Hooper. You live in the country. Every little thing that my neighbor does that upsets me, I don't need to litigate through the government. I should be able to go knock on a door. I should be able to go talk to a person. And the disorderly conduct, state law says, you're in violation if we've been warned once and then you don't do it. And it puts the onus on the person to notify the police officers. They go give a warning to let them correct it. So I feel like you do. I don't see I don't see a need for us to put laws on the books to start going out and having calls blown up at the city. Just, I think that it's more oversight than we want out here in the country. It's putting a big city policy in a place where we're trying not to be a big city.
Those of you who have been on.
Well, the party ordinance, I think, has been pretty effective. I mean, where it was needed, it seemed to work, and we haven't had any problems since, and it's not quite as complicated as all of this.
I just worry about our agriculture community. You know, they do things in the middle of the night because they have to, not because they want to. And people complaining about that would be just the wrong thing to do.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
I had a cow that I separated from the mom, and as you know, it went nuts for like 3 days. And I'm sure my neighbors weren't happy, but I went and talked to them and said, hey, I'm sorry. It's just got to get used to being weaned. And I didn't have that experience. Ray probably could have told me ahead of time that was going to happen, but I didn't know.
Multiply that by 200. And
Right.
then see what your neighbors think, okay?
Right.
We have people down by where we wean calves up. Well, even right out here. Malcolm will probably be griping if we wean the babies away from their mamas.
Mayor, can I ask, was there a reason? Was there something that prompted it? Was there
Yeah,
something that...
we had someone that came in and asked if we had a noise ordinance, and because I remember back in 2024 me saying something about how we didn't have a noise ordinance, and the attorney at that time said, yes, we do, but he was referring to that party one. And so when this brought up, so as we've talked to staff, we thought if these things come up, we'll bring it to council and see how you feel. If we don't feel like we need one, then we don't need one. But if you do feel like, it's always a good thing to let council be able to discuss that.
What was their complaint?
Well, that's what I was
What
gonna
kind
ask.
of noise was it? Remember?
Just the one that came in. So there's and it's been addressed with our code enforcement, but the semi parking over by Sinclair, the guy that lives next door, that's becoming more like a park and ride deal. So he just was wondering if there's a noise ordinance for trucks starting that early in the morning.
I can see his point.
Yeah, no, I mean, and I agree. That's kind of an outside the box situation that would be problematic if it
Yeah.
happens a lot. And,
Yeah. Well, I think then at this time, we don't need to worry about creating one. I think everyone, I didn't hear any others thinking that we should, so.
I
okay.
probably have the most annoying neighbor in the city sometimes with noise, okay, so.
Okay,
And I live with it.
so we'll
Because he's
just,
basically a good guy.
Hopefully,
Okay.
he voted for you.
Well, that's your son-in-law. What are you talking about?
No. He does it too.
When you said your neighbor.
That's funny.
okay, so the next one is AI policy, and this is something that has came up when we've been at trainings. If we use AI in the city, if we need to have a policy. And so this was something that, we've heard in training, so we didn't know if this is something that we needed to.
So the state code requires it for police. So that's, and for some private sectors, there's certain private sectors that require it as well to have some sort of policy. So there's nothing in state code that requires us to right now because we don't have a police department. I see that this is South Salt Lake. We use several, with the police we use AI, and different departments use AI. So it's just, I just wanted to let you know it's not required.
Okay.
So as I read through that, I wasn't even sure how that related. Like what? Explain an example of that.
With Dale.
Again, so I didn't put this on here. It just happens to be that it's South Salt Lake.
Oh, okay.
But in South Salt Lake, for example, the engineering department has several lots of software that they use that has AI. The police, that's the reason why we created the policy, is because the police is using it for like LPR when their dash cam can read the license plate.
Our meeting right now is doing AI notes, for instance. There's an AI taker.
So yeah,
We could deactivate, but it automatically turns on.
so this would just be a policy at looking at having someone be looking at these AI functions and softwares just to say, hey, it's okay that we use them and that we're using them properly.
So I don't know how much experience everyone here has with it, but from my previous work, I took certification courses through MIT and Stanford. I'm bringing AI, generative AI, large language models into my workplace. So I'm heavily adept to it. I have utilized everything from Claude to ChatGPT, Gemini, all the different tools, Canva, for creating things. It's integrated into so much stuff now, even on your iPhones. Like you said, it's in our meeting through Zoom or whatever we're using. The transcripts aren't perfect. The biggest thing that I can tell you, that all the policies that I've written professionally have been explicitly protective of like personal identifiable information, things that are going to be like proprietary or legal use, anything that's going to have any type of like discovery, something like that. Like if you're talking about, for instance, like you could take AI, you could download the PDF from tonight's packet, and you can tell AI, tell me everything about what's going on in that meeting. The issue is you might have some contractual things in that packet that maybe you don't want out in public. Now they're publicly listed on the website, so everybody has access to them. So you got to wrestle with like what you're putting into it. Also, you have to consider the adage garbage in, garbage out. So whatever you put into it, you may also not get the greatest answers if you're not researching it. It can also lie to you, just so you know. AI can completely fabricate answers. It can hallucinate, so it can give its own answers. Lawyers have gotten in trouble, and there's been discussion around disbarment for lawyers using case precedent that AI made up that never even existed. So you have to, my rules, like if I were to have my AI tell you like ChatGPT, my rules are you have to cite your source. You have to say only factual information. I don't want your opinion on things. Like I have all these rules if I ever use it for research, because it can mislead you. So you have to be really good at what you're doing with it. So if our city people are using it, things like that, if we have tools in the city, I think you could advise on whether there's any liability to us for that. But I personally think that it's at least helpful to have a policy in place that says not to put people's personal information in it, or whatever our general guidelines are for like research and information like that. Because like if our engineering departments or city departments are using it, it's a helpful tool, but they could be misled. You know what I mean? I digress.
No, that's great. And then there is a privacy code for state law that would kind of cover a lot of that information, which goes into the AI like ChatGPT. But it's what you guys want. I think more and more you're going to start using more AI.
It gets built into so many things we use, even if you don't use the app itself. Like he said, it's in Zoom. Canva, if you're creating PowerPoints, anything like that, AI makes suggestions. It's kind of like how Microsoft Word used to make like grammatical suggestions and stuff like that for spell check, all those things. AI now does that in a lot of tools like Microsoft Word. So it's built into a lot of stuff, just depending on how much you want to enforce how we use it.
I don't necessarily know that we use it that much.
Yeah.
You know, we joke sometimes, like, you know, we'll type in something to say, hey, AI, you know, or chat or whatever.
Yeah.
We didn't really feel like there was a need for it, but again, that was something that came
Yeah.
up, so we wanted to ask council how you felt about it, but we don't necessarily, I don't know that we feel like we needed one at this
It
time
was
either.
brought up in November, I think you sent it to me one meeting, so we were just circling back on what we needed.
Oh, I
to
did.
talk about for everything.
I did send that to you back then.
You pointed and I thought it was almost me. It's like, it wasn't me.
You asked for that. Yeah. Yep.
So I hear both sides of the argument and that quite often, and I don't even side with one or the other. I don't use it enough to once or twice, and that's about it. So for me to make a decision on it, I would rely on you guys that are.
I think it'd be staff. I'd want to know
That's
how
my
much.
thought too.
Yeah, how much staff uses it. If it's being used for planning, ChatGPT. It sounds like it's being used for research. Those kind of things.
What do you think, Ryan?
Probably a future time, we could probably look at one, but right now I don't think it's.
Yeah.
I use it very limitedly, if at all, so not much.
I mean, like you said, the day will come when it's in everything.
Yeah.
It's gradually starting to now, but
Man, was it?
I don't think we're gonna do it.
If we're to a point where we
That's a
can't
good point.
decide what's real and what isn't real,
Yeah.
right? What's really coming from a person and what some artificial intelligence put in there. If we're at that point, maybe we need to do something. But if we're not that far along, then
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
Darren Ryan said an important thing. He doesn't think that we'll necessarily get in trouble for not having one. Is that
That is true.
accurate? Okay.
Right now, there's not a state law.
Yeah.
But personal identifiable information, you just need to be careful with that. So putting that into ChatGPT. So, okay.
Okay. Okay, so the next one I've asked Darren to explain a little bit about this. This is the social media ordinance, because some cities now are adopting these.
Okay. And let me get there real quick. All right. I don't plan on going. This is quite thick.
It's complex.
What was it?
Complex.
It's
It is.
it's pretty thick. I didn't plan on going through it line by line, but
No.
I've talked to a lot of you about this. Okay, and I think a lot of us know about maybe some letters or things that were being talked to about this. So let's just talk about it quickly. There's 3 public forums. There's a traditional public forum, which is generally the streets and sidewalks. The person that's out there protesting about sheep has a lot of constitutional right to be there. The government can't say you can't talk about sheep or you can't talk about religion to people that are out there commenting in the streets or on public streets, on the city streets and the city sidewalk. But we can have rules about time restraints, time, place, and shoot, there's another word. But you can say you can't do that after 10 o'clock, or you can't impede traffic, those kind of things. You can put rules on it, but you can't tell them that they can't argue in the streets about certain topics. We have to be viewpoint neutral is what it's called. So if we go to a different limited public forum, we're talking about this room. This room is a limited public forum. People can't come in here every day and just yell what they want about sheep or religion or whatever they want. But they are given a certain time when they can, right? When is those times? During public comment. And it's completely open. Our public comment is completely open. They can come and talk about just about anything. But there is a line. There's a line that they can't cross, like hate speech. They can't talk about those. We can restrict them there. But really, because we've opened it up, they can talk about just about anything. And we can't stop them from talking about them during that time. But let's just say we're talking about a street being built, and we open it up for public comment during that. We can restrict what's talked about there. This is a limited public forum. We could limit to what's being talked about in that situation to the street. And if someone gets up and wants to talk about sheep, we can say, nope, we're going to talk about the street. Facebook is from the law, from case law, is a limited public forum. Okay? So if the city had a Facebook account and it was the city's account, and they they say, hey, we just had a meeting, and they open it up for comment, they cannot restrict those comments at all. The city
block anybody from commenting.
Can't block anyone from commenting. You can't just leave the commenting up to friends. Okay? So you understand that Facebook is a limited public forum. If the city wanted to post something about a meeting and then turn off comments, they can do that. They can turn them off completely and just not allow any comments, because that's not viewpoint discrimination. That's not stopping someone from commenting because of what it is or who they are. But if they did only allow friends to comment, then that is unconstitutional, because that's basically just saying, hey, you can comment and you can comment, but no one else can comment on it. So you can't do that. So if any of you had Facebooks, and that's where I bring up this case, Lindkey is the case from the Supreme Court. They came up with a test. So who has a Facebook account? Just a Facebook account. Okay. So their test that they came up with is, if you have a Facebook account and you possess actual authority to speak on the state's behalf, that's one. So that's the first part of the test. You have actual authority to speak on the state's behalf, on the city's behalf, we'll say. And 2, purported to exercise the authority when he spoke on the social media. So you did something on your social media to act on that authority. And that's argued about. We can go back and forth on really what that means. But essentially, if you're doing those things, if you have the authority, and 2, if you're acting on behalf of the city, You just need to know that you've opened up a limited public forum. Okay? Nothing in the case law, nothing in the law or state code says that that is against the law. If you have a Facebook and you've done that, it just means that you've opened it up to a public forum. You can't, if you restrict somebody from commenting, then you and the city are liable to First Amendment rights. We could be sued for taking those away. Grandma, people can request those records, and those records are essentially the city's because you're acting on the city's behalf. So just those that just have a personal Facebook, just talking to them, one thing that the case law asks you to do says you could put on your own personal Facebook and say, hey, this is my personal Facebook. The ideas that come from, that I post on here are from my ideas alone. I am not talking on behalf of the city. That's something you can do, just for your personal Facebooks. But if we're, for example, we're saying I'm mayor of this city, and that's the Facebook account, that's not against the law. You can do that. Nothing in state law says you can't. Case law says you can, but you cannot violate the Constitution, and you can't block anybody. You have to allow comments. You have to allow everyone to comment. You can't just let friends comment, and you just have to know that those records are grandmable. So those, don't delete them.
Can I ask some questions?
Yeah.
You keep saying Facebook, but you mean social media in general.
Yeah, sorry, social media.
Okay.
Facebook is just an example.
So it could be Instagram, it could be a Twitch account, anything,
Yep.
a YouTube page,
Yep.
whatever. Second piece, you said doing work on behalf of the city, and that's been discussed, or how that's my paraphrase. That's been up for debate. Does that mean you're explicitly stating, or is that the debate, something city related, or maybe you're expressing your opinion on something that is in the city you're in, or it could be you're expressing your opinion on, like for instance, I have a Facebook page. I don't really get on there and express my opinion much, but if I got on there and said, this is how I feel about legislature's decision to do this, this, and this, because I'm an official capacity, even though I'm talking about state legislature issues, could that be now a public forum?
No,
Okay.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Because you'd have to be doing something acting on behalf of the city. So they specifically talk about a mayor that just says, we had a meeting last night.
Yeah.
That really is not doing something like acting on the authority.
Yeah.
That's actually considered fine. But let's say, for example, it's called the mayor's page. One, it's putting themselves out there as the mayor. And then just bringing up your Facebook page, mayor.
Yeah.
And then
this is
even
fun.
if you're saying those things, just like bringing back to the meeting, it kind of looks like you're still acting in authority, letting people know that still would count. But if it was just on your personal page and you said, we just had a meeting last night, it was great, y'all should look at the issues, those kind of things.
So in that situation, we'll use the mayor's
Yeah.
page as an example. Is the mayor required to accept invitations for friend requests from all people?
No,
So how do we know if and when it's being restricted if the mayor's choosing who to accept and not accept?
because she allows everyone to see it and everyone to comment on it.
But only everyone who's her friend on Facebook can see it, right?
No,
No.
So it's public to the sense that anyone can see it even if they're not her friends, is what
Correct.
you're saying. I see.
Yes.
Okay. So the privacy settings are set in a way, so that would
Right.
be the requirement as long as it's
and
public.
so everyone's aware, we took the reins, me and Matt, in October, and we already had discussed that before November. We knew about these concerns.
Sure, no, but I'm just saying, like, I'm using the mayor's example, but I'm just curious. I know my private Facebook page is not public, and so
Right.
people can't see it. It's locked down unless you're my friend.
Right.
I don't even think I have it set to friends of friends. It's just set to friends. So that's different than how the mayor's is set up,
Yep.
which is set to public.
That's exactly right.
Understood.
So that would be let's just say that switch.
Yeah.
That would be unconstitutional.
Right.
Because only certain people could comment on them. She's put herself out there.
But it's cool that
Has
mine's
the
private,
authority.
right?
Yep.
So that's why I'm asking. Like, we don't have to go out and like turn ours to public now.
Unless you start doing things acting on authority. Now, with you all, it's kind of interesting because do you really have the authority, or does the whole council have the authority? There's an argument.
Yeah.
But still, I
That's a good
think
point.
if you did start a Facebook and you did start saying things and doing things, acting on your authority, then that would be concerning. I mean, it'd just be concerning in the fact that you opened up a public forum and you'd have to open it up.
I got another question,
Okay.
hypothetically.
Okay, go ahead.
So say, I got Larry and Ryan as friends on Facebook,
Right.
and I make a post about something going on in the city, and then they comment on those things. Does that create a quorum?
Yes,
Yes, I would think so.
that's concerning.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I'd be careful with that.
I'm just curious. I'm not. It hasn't happened.
And I
but
mean,
I'm just curious of what that would look
is it
like.
something that maybe would be argued about?
Yeah.
Were you there at the same time? Because texting still counts.
Yeah,
It can
that's
still
why I'm
be a
asking.
form of
Yeah.
texting. So I think so.
Emails can be quorums.
I would avoid it. Avoid that.
Yeah. No, it's good. It's a good thing
So-
because some of us are part of groups that are public forums or that are like public city groups, and it hasn't happened. But say I comment on something, Larry comments on it, and Ray comments on it. Now you got 3 council people commenting on this public thing. That seems like it could be a quorum.
Right. Potentially.
Just curious. All right.
Yeah. Go ahead.
In the case of a grandma request with a, like Sherry's page,
Right. Right.
somebody said, I want a grandma request to the mayor's Facebook page.
Okay.
So who takes control of that? Is that just her, or do you guys get
Well,
involved?
That's all open to the public. Well, so one thing that the recorder can do in response is say, they don't have to print something out in that situation. They could say, in response, all that information is available on Facebook and name her page. It's all there.
Because it's all there anyway.
It's all there. Right.
I kind of thought.
Yeah.
Well, and that's why we wondered if you want to have a social media policy, because this question had came up that I had blocked someone, and so, our legal counsel and I went through quite an extensive search. And on my phone, I screenshotted every one of my privacy settings to show him. There was only ever one time, and there was one person blocked, but I let the attorneys know because they were posting as if they were me, and they were posting some scantily dressed people on there. But I let them know as soon as, so anyway, but we did unblock that person, but I haven't seen them post anything yet. I have never blocked anybody. I have never unfriended anybody. On my own personal page that I rarely ever post anything, there have been some people that aren't friends, but that's my own personal page. But the one that is actually the Mayor Sherry Bingham, I have not. So, but when this came up, that's why we wanted to discuss this with you, because I know the attorneys have been following my page, and if there was ever anything, they would tell me this isn't appropriate. There are several other mayors that do have these, even some of our legislatures, and I feel like it has been very beneficial. I felt like it has given me a voice to sometimes talk, but how do you feel? Do you want us to have a social media policy?
So that brings me to my second question. I know we've talked about this before. What did we decide to do with these anonymous people out there that refuse to identify themselves, that want their letters read and
Yeah.
cancel? And all this
I would just
anonymous-
say we don't need to talk about it.
Yeah,
Like right now.
That's
Yeah.
how I feel too.
Yeah.
I say.
They can't identify themselves, then they don't
Yeah.
exist.
That's
Oh.
all right, I'll listen to your counsel, but I'd really like to let those people know what I think. So, I'll just be
Yeah, but
quiet.
who would you be letting know?
With this policy, real quick, and I went through it a few times. Clearfield gives the choice of having it be a city-ran Facebook account or social media account. Sorry, or them having their own personal, but just knowing that they have to give all access to the city to look at those things and
yeah.
make sure that there's no violations.
Policy reasons, you have to have a social media manager.
Yeah, I didn't love all that.
Creating 3 positions.
Yeah,
There's a whole department that gets created.
it could be simplified
It
for sure.
could be, and I sat by I happen to sit by the mayor of Clearfield, who does have a social media page. They do have people that handle this full time. So we don't really have it in our budget right now to hire anybody. So I asked Morgan if you wanted to develop this policy, if she would be willing to take upon that responsibility, that she can review my Facebook. I don't have anything to hide. I never have had anything to hide. It's open to anybody that wants to look and see what it is. So, but how do you feel? Do you want us to create a social media policy, or do you?
Can I ask you a question, Mayor?
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt.
No.
Who do you know who runs the city account? We have a city account. Who runs that? Okay. Can I just ask, why is it necessary for you to have an account if we have a city account?
That's a really good question. So, I felt like for a long time I didn't have a voice, and there was an incident that happened here in the state of Utah that I finally realized it's okay to have a voice. You don't have to be mean to people. And so I decided I had been silenced for a long time, and I wanted to feel like I had a voice. We do not allow comments on the city page, and that's all right. I do allow comments, and I felt like it gave me a way to correspond back and forth. If people ask me a question, let me answer your question. So that was the reason. And even announcing, okay, we have a meeting, which I forgot to even say we were having a meeting tonight because there's been a few things anyway. But I felt like I needed to. And
Well,
it's
so
been
that's-
pretty effective. I felt, in my opinion, you may have a different opinion. I feel like it's been pretty effective.
I don't have a different opinion. That's a great example. Like tonight, you didn't post about the meeting, like you said, you forgot to do it. And I wonder if some levels it makes the constituents feel like, because I've seen comments where people go, agenda, where's the agenda? And you've told them several times it's on the city page. And so it almost makes it's like it makes your page responsible for that. And then it's like, oh, well, now you didn't tell us about tonight. And it almost makes it obligatory rather than it is your discretion. Like right now, the way I feel you're expressing is, this is a place for me as a mayor to connect with my constituents and share what I want. But then if it becomes like this obligatory thing, that's like, oh, well, now I have to post the minutes, and now I got to post the thing, and I got to tell, and really that's not what it was about.
No.
And so that's why I wanted to know. I hadn't heard from you what the reason was or any of that.
It really was. There had been a lot of things that had been said, and I had a lot of people say, we haven't heard from you. You tell us. So I would sit up at the meetings. It's been a rough 2 years, and I would sit up there, and people would sometimes say unkind, accusatory things, and I sat and took them and never really ever responded back. And I finally felt like I needed to have a voice, and so in my opinion, I feel like it's been very successful. I have a lot of people that will comment back and forth. Sometimes, they start conversations back and forth. They're really not addressing me any. They might ask a question, then we'll have another really good, HIPAA resident that will respond back and give good answers. So, but no, it's not ever to detract away, but our other page has just been a little more formal of a page.
Is there any liability with a mayor having a page that the city doesn't have oversight and control over versus, forgive me not saying your name inappropriately, but Sherry as the person rather than Mayor Bingham? So is there a liability to us by her having a page where she has a voice, where she shares, like she said in this example, it gives her a platform to respond to things she may not have been able to respond to in the meeting, or to say things publicly that she may not have said in the meeting?
It's state action. Just assuming that the comments that are being said on the Facebook from on the page are acting on behalf of the city, and she has we already know she has the authority, and then those comments are acting on behalf of the city, it's state action. So it's a limited public forum, and it is liability for the city either way, both ways. If we're following this policy and she has a social media page that's being managed by the city, her social media right now is being managed by the city as well. It would be either way.
You're right. That makes sense.
Because either way we have to
Because
say,
she's the city.
either way we have to say, hey, you can't delete anything now.
Right.
Don't delete anything. So to save us, to say, hey.
So how much more work, oversight, et cetera, does that create for our staff to create this policy to for lack of a better word, babysit it?
Yeah.
Do you need a policy to control it when it really doesn't need to be controlled right now?
If we did this policy and you wanted to adopt that as the city's Facebook page, it is the city's Facebook page, but yours. It's the mayor's city's Facebook page, and then whoever was chosen to do it could go in and make sure that there's no restrictions, those kind of things.
But I guess to Ryan's point, she's already beholden to the law in this case, she has to operate because we're recognizing this as a public forum. So she has to operate within those guidelines, even without a policy. So is it necessary to create a policy when she already has to do that?
Like I told you, state law and case law does not require it.
Right.
So it doesn't require it. I think this is, Clearfield got ahead of it, and Clearfield's a big city, and they have a lot of staff, and I can see the point of it. I can see the point of it even here, but we are only dealing with, 2 Facebook accounts?
Yeah.
So.
I don't know that we need it, but I just feel like it might be
Well,
extra.
Again, I wanted to bring it forward to you because I wanted to be upfront. I mean, everybody's aware, I have a page, but I just wanted to be upfront. If you feel this is necessary,
The stuff I've seen you post, and I'm sure I don't read them all because I don't go on there that much, but like when you congratulate the high school kids from doing well or this kind of stuff, I can see little or no reason for you not to be able to do that. And I can't see where that just, saying, hey, congratulations to really high school track team, they won state. That doesn't bother me. I don't know, should it?
I just feel like adherence to the open meeting laws and should be expected, and then beyond that, I don't understand. Like, to me, it's like, I don't think we need a policy. I just think we need to be sure that you, any mayor, any one of us are adhering to the open meeting laws and rules and staying within the bounds that all of us should be held to.
So,
But that's my opinion. I
one
don't
thing in the
speak for
policy
them.
is, the city does have the, I guess, was it an agent? Is the agent the one that was in charge of posting? And reviewing? So it would be reviewing the content as well, and that could, with this policy, that matches. But there is a fine line. I mean, we can't prohibit, I can't prohibit your First Amendment rights as well. And so I think that's why they have this policy, is because even if they had this policy and the mayor had one of their accounts, their mayor could still go onto their own personal Facebook
And do the same thing.
and state things on their
that's
Facebook, right? Yeah.
Well-
You cross the line when you're acting on behalf of the city.
Well, yeah,
This is your own personal opinion.
exactly. I'm still saying that. Let's just say we're in Clearfield, and they have a Clearfield account for the mayor. The mayor gets on and posts, and the agent says, that's inappropriate. Probably shouldn't post that thing. And they say, okay, and they go get on their personal Facebook. Then the same thing is there. The same constitutional issue we're dealing with. They've opened up a public forum on their personal account. It's just, anyways.
okay, so how do you feel then, Chair? You think we're fine to not have one for now? Do you want,
I do.
okay,
Yeah, I feel the
Same
same.
with the AI thing.
okay. And then if it becomes a problem and we need to, okay. Okay, so the next thing is possible creation of a policy, and you can read that, I don't need to read it. We've had concerns about if planning commission's members should be able to call the attorney or not, as far as, so our attorneys right now, we have a flat rate per month. We know we're not going to always have that. We know that it's going to be a time where we're going to be billed hourly. We know that's going to happen. Do we need to have a policy as far as how much time restraints one individual person might be putting on the attorney? And that was one of these things we talked about with these. And I always wanted this to be the format. We talk about an ordinance. If we feel like an ordinance needs to be created, then we talk about it in a work meeting. We ask our legal counsel if they would do that. But how do you feel about that? In a lot of cities, they allow it, they don't. So.
Well, I will tell you, I've had an extensive conversation with Mayor Vanderwood of West Haven regarding that, and they actually created an account not too long ago because they had some individuals that and they were on an hourly rate, it nearly doubled their expenses for legal fees for the city because those people were tying up the attorney's hours constantly. So they put in an ordinance in place to limit that and have it go through a governing body before it got submitted. If we did something like that, then one thing we'd have to do is decide who would govern something like that. I don't know. These guys have been great with us because of the monthly fee thing, and I'm pretty well suspecting we've probably gone over our monthly availability on it.
That's my question, has that been a concern of yours? Where's this concern coming from?
I mean, not necessarily my concern. One thing, let me go ahead and put my opinion out there. I don't know how it would work here because we don't have a manager. We don't have a city manager. And I am the attorney for the city, me and Matt. So if the council, any of the council and the mayor and Malcolm and Morgan have legal questions, they can reach out to us. And I think that's it. I think being mindful of our time, yeah, absolutely. We have different jobs, and we're only getting paid so much. But that's something. But I don't think right now, where we don't have a city manager, it wouldn't really work to have someone. But for the planning commission, if they want to talk to the attorney and have a phone call with the attorney, why doesn't it go through Malcolm every time? That question. They can ask the question to Malcolm, and then Malcolm can reach out to us. I think that's appropriate.
So we could restrict it that way, basically. Are you comfortable with how things are rolling now within the city?
I think that the month of February has been lots less than January, I'll tell you that.
Okay.
So
We are proceeding in a right direction.
And
hustling.
January was lots less than December. And so
Okay.
I think that things are kind of
Smoothing out?
a little bit, smoothing out.
Come on. If he's good with it, then
I just am afraid to put a restriction on you all,
any of us.
is what I'm talking about. If there was a city manager, it would make sense that you would go to the city manager and say, I have this legal question. The manager would talk to us and kind of act as a goalie, like, well, we don't really need to go to the attorney for that because we know this and this and this and this, those kind of things.
Okay. And that's exactly what West Haven did too. Over there, it goes through the mayor or the city manager before it goes to. And I frankly would not be really excited about it just going through the mayor. If we ever said something like that wouldn't work for me because I don't think anybody should have that much authority to decide what proceeds. But a city manager should therefore be pretty neutral and in your frame of mind, that would work well. I think that's hunky-dory.
Yeah.
So do we need to put something in ordinance relative to the planning commission?
Nope.
Okay.
If Malcolm wants to talk to the planning commission and say, hey, if you have any legal questions, run them through me,
Then we're good.
then we're good.
Do you feel
Be nice.
comfortable? Do you feel comfortable redirecting people if they call you and say, "Hey, appreciate the call. Prefer that we keep this through Malcolm." If it's the planning commission.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I think it's appropriate to do that.
Okay.
Be nice if we had somebody here tonight that was on the planning commission that could pass that on to them.
Has that been a problem?
I can't talk, so I'm not.
That's what I'm wondering. So
One
Hey,
call for yes.
you can't give me a hard time about that.
I already did.
So have we had a problem with this, or just we're trying to prevent the problem?
I think that I think it's just a discussion that's gone back and forth. I don't think there hasn't been necessarily a problem. There has been a lot of work that me and Matt have had to take on here. I think there's been a lot of issues. I think starting in October last year, I don't think we knew what we took on. So there was quite a bit. It's smoothed out, but I just think just be mindful, and I think we'll be okay.
In keeping with that line of thought, I know we're speculating, but there, potentially could be a discussion at the contract renewal, whatever we have with you, that might include something to the effect of an hourly rate, maybe not a flat rate. I'm not sure if that's something you've decided or not. If that were the case, or if that's not the case, is it possible for us to, well, specifically if it is the case, for us to get updates on our usage and allocation of your time? If you are billing us at an hourly rate, if that became the thing, would it be possible, not necessarily restrictions, but
I did a really very, very, just to kind of let me and Matt be aware.
It'd just be nice to know if it's like Larry spending all of our time with you. So then we could go say, hey Larry, you need to pay us half of this bill.
Let me just look.
Or
Fair.
you need to talk faster and
Yeah.
move along.
Yeah, why you talk so slow?
I actually think I ought to bill Larry for as much as he does.
Well, and part of this that I'm hearing, it drove me nuts in our business is people would come in and they would ask us to figure up a bill on something that they knew they weren't gonna have done. I knew they weren't gonna have it done, but yet they wanted me to spend all this time just so they had a number. And that drove me nuts.
Yeah.
I mean, we had to do it just because, but it was a waste of time.
Yeah.
And that's what I don't wanna do to our attorneys
Yeah.
is, let's don't make them do something that we know is not gonna fly or that.
Yeah.
So that'd be my 2 cents.
Yeah, I want us to be able to have access to ask legal questions if they're legal questions. I don't want him to be like my personal counselor. You know what I mean? So I want to bounce ideas, but they come from a legal lens. And I think every time you and I've talked, that's how you've always answered. I think that even if it's not intentional, you're at least training us, at least with me in our interactions, you've been like, well, legally I can tell you this. And then it's reminded me my frame of questions need to be from a legal lens.
And I'll give you policy advice when you ask it, but it is policy. It's just policy advice. That's your guys' decision. So, yeah.
Okay, well, that's why I thought, you know, if we just start, if you have an idea, if you have something you would like an ordinance written on, bring it here, let's discuss it before our attorneys do spend a lot of hours creating something that maybe we are in favor of or not. I mean, it wouldn't have done me any good for me to have him spend 2 weeks writing a social media policy if that's something that we aren't even interested in. Okay, so the next thing then is city-owned properties, and Ray had asked a couple of times to talk about the home we own.
Yeah, my personal thing right now, and I'm not even aware of all the stuff about getting it, but I don't want to be a rental lord. I don't know. My feeling is I don't want the city being in charge of renting a house out. I would prefer that, and I don't know if it's doable even or not, that we need the parking around it. I'm assuming that's for sure, you know. But do we need the house is my question. Could we separate the house and liquidate it and get it out of the proposal, basically? Is that something that's doable, or would that have support?
So are you saying just not lease out property?
Oh,
No,
no, we have a house.
we have a house that we own
rent.
that we're renting out right now.
We do.
Yes.
Yeah.
You wouldn't know, you weren't around.
Interesting.
Well, it was,
Good to
it's
know.
a house that, down there by the rodeo grounds, that
Okay.
as that expands, the city owns on the back side of it and the
The
other side
cities can be landlords. Cities can lease out property. You asking me that that's a policy decision. So I can't.
To me, I
that'd be
don't
what
want to be
you
a
would
landlord.
want to do.
I don't want the city to be a landlord. I love having availability to the parking, and we haven't even looked into it, I'm sure, to see if it could be separated, if there was a way to take that house itself away. And I don't really know what the house is like or the people that are in the house is like, but I don't know. If the house is worth a couple $100,000, I have no idea what it's worth on whatever size lot we'd have to put it on.
It's
I just
2026
think
in
there'd
Hooper, Utah. That's a $5 million home.
Yeah, that's probably true. I just think there's better ways we could be using the money inside of the city. I love the idea that we're gonna have potential expansion of the parking, because I totally believe we need that down the road. But I'm just not real excited about being a landlord in the part of the city. Is my personal thing.
Parking though, we'd even talked about an enclosed arena, maybe someday, you know, when we had a wish list, we could put a really nice arena on that.
There you go.
I know.
But yeah, so
yes, I think we need to divide it, for sure, it should be 2 portions.
yes, could we just like separate the house and then look at, I don't know, I wouldn't mind seeing, you know, I mean, we get enough realtors around that could give us an estimate of what the house would be worth. Do we need the house as a city? That's what I'm asking you guys.
We don't need the house. It was never an intent to buy the
Okay.
house.
It was just for the parcel, yes.
And you know, and actually the people that own the house to the east of that, I think that when the time comes, they'll probably wonder if the city's interested in that house too, just to complete that whole, because the city owns on the east side of that.
Okay, yeah.
So
I just want to get everybody's feeling for, you know, just the house part, because I love having access to the parking. I think that is going to be nothing but beneficial.
So a couple of years ago, when we first came up about the house, I don't know if this is even a possibility, we never pursued it, but it was a Boise Cascade house, it was moved in there. That we want the land, that land is valuable to us, but we never looked into it. Would that be a possibility of selling the house and having the house moved and we keep the land?
Boise Cascade, so that's like a Sears and Roebuck house?
It's a manufacturer.
It's a manufactured home.
Okay,
And then
Yeah.
bricked afterwards.
And
That
bricked.
makes
Okay.
it a little harder.
Yes, but we never even ever checked in, and then the council at that time, the house had been purchased probably 2 years before that, and it had sat, then they decided to rent it.
That shows us right
So-
where that house is. I don't even, I mean,
Oh,
as
yeah.
well as I know that
I-
area,
I
I
can
don't
give
even
you a
know which
little bit
house
of-
it is that.
There wouldn't be anything in the law that would restrict you as long as you followed your disposition code.
Yes,
Kathy Fowler's
yeah.
house.
So 6100
it
west.
was, it used to be
White
Bruce
brick
Taylor's,
South, yep.
Bruce Taylor's wife's family's
It's that-
house.
It's that 6276
There you go.
when it should be. Get that one? Nope.
Well, we own this one here.
So
We
that
own this
picture's
house.
fine.
Oh, yes, sorry, I had you going over too far. It's that one right there.
Yeah, it's this one right there.
So we need that land behind, and I'm all in favor of the land. We have had some difficulties. We have 2 large dogs that live there, and when on Facebook someone said about a dog that is of the breed of the people that own, and it was in the park and it bit somebody, I panicked. We don't have a fence around it. We have,
So there's a house that.
Right next to that. That one we don't own.
So we
That
don't
was-
own that, so really, if we sold that house, we're really not losing much, are we?
So we own the one your mouse is on, but
Yeah.
not the one
no.
to the east of it.
And we could, as a city, rezone that and even just section that off so we still keep that back. We need that back portion. And they're actually listed as 2 parcels, but if we could make it smaller.
So who owns this land
We
right
do.
here?
We do. That's
That came
what,
with the house.
And that was part of this home?
that's what came with it.
They were
That's
two-
right.
So
two
that,
separate
that makes
parcels.
sense why we did that. So, even if we cut this down, do we need to, do we get anything by coming around that way? If we make that lot smaller, does that give us any extra? Cause my guess is even if you cut this lot down and rezoned it, you could probably get the same amount of money out of reselling it as this whole
Yeah.
thing.
I
Is that-
But could
think
we-
so too.
and
What
then
about our code though? We'd have to honor our code. Could we subdivide like that? I don't think.
We could do a property line adjustment, but the remainder lot would have to be conforming still, I think.
Yeah, we'd have to leave the remaining
And
conforming.
those are half-acre lots.
Yeah, how big is that lot?
Aren't they down there?
0.69 acres.
Oh,
This is a half acre zone.
So you could cut it down a teeny bit, but not much.
We cut down 0.19 acres of it.
Or you could cut it down enough where you park 20 cars in it.
Well, and the nice thing if we could make, which I think it would be worth seeing if anybody would be willing to buy it and move it. Maybe that's not even, we don't know, but we've never even looked into that
We
option.
could look into it. Personal feeling is we're gonna get a lot more out of it
If we sell
if we sell it
I
as it
agree.
sits.
I agree.
In today's, when that was purchased, the housing market is nothing like it is today. And what Larry just said, I'm pretty sure that house by itself right now would pay for the whole parcel basically.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can't buy anything for less than $400,000.
If that other house wasn't to the right of it, I'd say, well, maybe keep it, but since that other house is in our way, then,
Yeah. And the other house, land would be probably more advantageous to us for the park, where it's the one right next to it than even this one would. Well,
Yeah.
While we have some minutes, I just want to quickly talk about the procedure for the leasing code. So after doing some research, and me and Matt have kind of looked at this back and forth and gone back and forth. The mayor, at least from what I'm aware of, has been the one that's been in charge of leasing for a little while. Be it this mayor or the mayor before or the mayor before, has been in charge of leasing. We were afraid to have that power taken away from the mayor without following the procedure of 10B303, 10.3B303, anyways, which requires the entire council vote. It is not a power that's been given to them by 104,
Right.
but if it was given to them by the city code or a resolution, and that's why we were kind of scared, have we found a resolution that there's power of it? No.
But I have some to talk about tonight.
So
when we talk
because
about
there
that.
has not been a resolution made, it's not in the code that the mayor has the authority, it wouldn't necessarily be taking away her powers. I think those powers have been assumed by this mayor, or the mayor before, so we wouldn't require the procedure of 303B to be followed.
Right.
So it would just be a majority vote.
That's what I kind of understood.
That's all I wanted to say. I just wanted to get the procedure out on the table
Okay.
before we
Yes.
now go on with
Thank
your
you.
property. Sorry.
So is there somebody that would, if we are not saying we have to do anything with it right now, but would there be somebody that would be interested in looking to see possibilities of moving it, and also somebody that would be interested in possibly an appraisal to see what we could do?
I have a couple
If
questions.
that's-
Is this the only property where we have tenants?
Yes.
Yes.
And you mentioned the dogs. I've heard the rumor of the dogs, and I don't know what they are because I haven't been down there. But obviously, there's some liability there, right? Is there liability if the city-owned property, someone has vicious dogs and they bite somebody?
Good question.
Is that extended?
That's a good question. I mean, just as being landlords, I mean, potentially the landlord could be liable. That's correct.
Okay, so
Because the renter doesn't carry home insurance, homeowner insurance, correct? Do they have?
So the
renters?
renter's not
They
insured?
they could have
Added
renter's
us on.
insurance.
But that may not
Or we-
indemnify
or
full
we
loss.
could, we could,
Right.
but we could require it for our leases. I mean, that's something that the
Okay.
city can. But
So
anyways,
the renter or homeowner insurance would cover a lawsuit for
Right.
biting somebody.
yeah. The other question is, what type of, if we're going to move it, we're going to have to evict these people. Are we displacing a family? I don't know the people. I don't know if they're paying on time. I don't know what those processes are and procedures are. So it might be advantageous to look. But the other piece is, say we sell the house and we just use that piece of property. Do we have all easement and access to everything around it to utilize that
Yeah.
property?
Everything to
Go
the
like there, that's 6200 West. That's how we get to it.
All right.
Their contract ended in October. It was a 1-year contract.
So we're month to month.
We are month to month, and there have been some other issues.
Okay.
Yeah, and also as landlords.
What are the other issues that we've had?
Yeah. Yeah.
Pardon me?
Drugs.
Drugs?
Yes,
Well, that ain't good.
that's homeowner, isn't it?
Yeah, and there are wear and tear, we just replaced the water heater. I mean, there are things that,
Liabilities to the city.
Yeah.
Well, curiosity, what are we getting out of
and
our
our
house a month?
1674.
1574? 1674.
yeah,
You might get a studio apartment in Ogden for that.
yeah.
Yeah.
But that, again, we can discuss this at
So
another,
can we appraise it and?
I think we could. We could appraise it and we could.
You go in on Zillow and get a pretty
I'm a little concerned I don't know that it'll be as in good a condition now as when we purchased it based on,
Sure.
because there's 200, there's two 100-pound dogs.
We secured a deposit and all that stuff from our property management
Yeah.
company and all that, because we have somebody who's kind of managing that for us, right? So if
Yeah.
they destroyed the property, they'd be liable to that at some level.
Yeah.
Well, I know we're not allowed to make a decision, but I think that I'm in favor of us exploring the idea of what we want to do with it, if we
Yeah.
want to continue down the path of having it.
Okay,
Or-
I know a real estate agent that ran for city council that would probably get us an appraisal.
okay, yeah,
Name
and,
of Shauna Ray.
What do you think?
yeah.
You were around when we got it. You said it wasn't a thing. What do you think? Do you think of getting out of it?
The city had, before me, had even tried to purchase that property
Yeah.
from the widow that owned it.
Yes.
But she gave it to her daughter
Mhm.
and said they can make the decision. So they actually came to the city and said, okay, now are you interested in this property?
Mhm.
So the lady that owned that house, her brother lives in the next house to it. And it was
To the east or
Pretty-
west?
to the east.
Okay, the one by the park.
Gary Higley is his name. Gary Higley.
Yeah.
So Elaine Fowers was a Higley. So they're brother and sister. So the Spaldings family, these names don't mean a whole lot, but anyway.
I know Bruce's wife. You're right.
Okay.
It's Bruce Taylor. I played pickleball with Bruce Taylor. It's his wife's
Okay.
mom's house, right?
That's right. So her uncle is the one that lives in the house next to it, but he's probably about 90 years old, actually. So, I mean,
Yeah,
in I think the intent is that when that becomes available,
We'd get it too.
probably, I mean,
And
that's.
and just use
but
that whole
it's not
Look into it,
guaranteed.
because you figure, you know, if you get 1,600, I mean, if you got 2,000, it's gonna take a lot of years before we would ever recoup the money if we sold it for a
Yeah.
few hundred thousand.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, yeah, okay, well, we need to move up to our next meeting, thank you.
Thank you.
This must be a boring meeting.
Oh, no.
Which sound?
By the cemetery.
Got your wallet, your keys over there? When's the last time you saw this? When's the last time you saw this?
We just need to remind them they speak into your microphone, make sure you turn it on. We still have people say they sometimes don't.
But I love that because depending on what type of event it is, we have my outside over 2 hours, and then I want to share with just the family, and I want to share with the parents because they're our babysitters. So like when I get to meeting outside of normal work hours, they know like, oh, that's the beginning of the week, and then it makes it way easier to let the week to schedule because my wife will shift home. See, that's what yeah, and see that with my iPhone, all cornered on, you can choose from it. But then on my work computer, I can only see Google Calendar or stuff like that. See all of them, so I can't install.
Recording in progress.
Yeah.
We would like to start our city council meeting. Today is March 5th, 2026. We want to welcome everyone here. We're going to call our meeting to order. Our opening ceremony with a pledge by Councilmember Hill and then a reverence by Councilmember Fowers.
Raise your view with me. I
pledge
allegiance to the flag
of the United
States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our Heavenly Father, we're always grateful to come before Thee in prayer and give thanks unto Thee for the blessings that Thou hast given us throughout our lives. We're grateful for this area in which we live. We're grateful for the moisture that we've been receiving in this area. And we're grateful that Thou art answering the prayers of all those who have prayed for the moisture to come. We're grateful, Heavenly Father, that we can live in an area where we can serve and participate in meetings such as this one. That allows us to review those items, and policies, and goals for a city that will help improve the area in which we live and the people, help improve the lives of the people that live here. We're grateful for these freedoms, and we pray that we will do all that we can to use our freedoms that we have in a positive way to help strengthen one another. And we pray in this meeting that Thy Spirit will be here to influence us and guide us in the things that we participate in. And we say this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you. We always just like to remind everybody that our newsletter is now published monthly on our website. We want to thank our city recorder, Morgan Yeoman, for doing that. If you go to hoopercity.gov, you can read that. There's some important things on there about the upcoming Easter egg hunt we're going to have, the upcoming spring cleanup. We also always advertise about cleanup days at the cemetery, and so make sure you look at those. The next thing we have is public comments. Is there anyone here that would like to make a public comment? Just to remind you, you have 3 minutes. You come up to the podium, state your name. Seeing no public comments, we will move on. So our next are our consent items. We have 3 minutes to approve. So hopefully you've all had a chance to look through those. Does anybody have any corrections on the minutes? Seeing,
So I do have a question on some of the minutes. There's a public comment that stated incorrect information that Weaver County shows. I believe that everything is correct on what she said and what was recorded. Do we have to correct those numbers, or does it really make a big difference?
so it was the person made incorrect. So what these minutes are is just writing down what was done at the meeting and said. So no, we do not correct that.
Okay, all right.
Any other corrections that you see? It would be of what you saw, for instance, if, like I wasn't here last time and I was excused, and if I had been here and it didn't say that, then that might be one.
No, the other thing I had was the same one that Larry beat me to the drum on, basically,
Okay.
was, yeah, we don't need to worry about public comments, whether they were correct or not.
So the only correction that I have, and I talked to the city attorney about this, was when I was operating as Mayor Pro Tem, and it discusses me as council member Craig. I just think for the order of the meeting, for our posterity, if you will, for the legacy of our minutes, it should be noted that I was operating as Mayor Pro Tem, and that is.
What date was that?
Oh, I apologize. That was on the February 5th minutes. Just in what authority I was calling the meeting to order and whatnot, it just says Councilmember Craig, so I just think that it should be noted that I was operating as Mayor Pro Tem at that time.
Any other corrections? If not, then if someone would like to make a motion to approve the minutes with the one correction.
We need to do them all
Separate? Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of meeting dated January 27th, 2026.
The motion was made by Councilmember Hancock. It was seconded by Councilmember Hill. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion carries. Now our next meeting then is February 5th. Is there someone that would like to make that motion?
I'll make a motion to
Okay. Motion was made by Councilmember Craig. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
To approve with the change.
That's correct.
Okay, approved with the change, and
And
Council.
I will second
Okay,
with the change.
Councilmember Fowers seconded that with the change. Any discussion on that motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, and then our third set of minutes is February 19th. Is there someone that will make that motion?
I'd make the motion that we approve the minutes dated February 19th, 2026.
Okay, motion was made by Councilmember Fowers. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Second was made by Councilmember Hancock. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you. We do not have any public hearings tonight. We do not have any discussion items, so we're moving on to action items. So the first one, which is a discussion, possible motion, approval of an interlocal agreement. Since we put this on the agenda, I had a WACOG meeting on Monday. We are not ready yet with that interlocal agreement. There has been still some discussion as far as the Weaver County Transfer Station. So we do not have that interlocal agreement to motion on tonight. Because that is just a possible motion, we do not need to table it. There is not a motion to make.
Okay, are we allowed any discussion on the topic?
Sure.
I've heard through social media, and Roy truth of that is that what concerns do we have and how might that affect our agreement with them and how might that affect us exploring other options?
So currently, what we have in Weber County is we have our Weber County Transfer Station that is owned and operated by the county, and we have a private transfer station, Ogden Transfer Station, that is privately owned. In order for Weber County, and they've done a lot of budget numbers, they do need to have all of the commercial waste going there. There is one company that has been going to Ogden Transfer Station that said they would come back to Weber County if it was a certain price. Even when Weber County offered them, and when I say a certain price, we pay a dumping fee per ton. And currently it has been $50 per ton, and they offered a lower rate, but the interlocal agreement actually said $49 a ton, so it would have actually gone down this year. The particular company said no, they would not come back to Weber County. Even if all of the cities agreed to that, there could still possibly not be enough revenue. I actually sit on that committee so we had one meeting, talked about it, and we thought we were all good to go until they came Monday. They sent us out these interlocal agreements. It came Monday. We were going to amend the packet, and then I received word Monday at the WACOG, no, that's not the case. I feel like it would be a very severe detriment to our residents if we did not have the Weber County Transfer Station. We have a number of residents that use that, and so at the time we're just in a holding pattern. We will be meeting again as a committee, and they're trying to figure out what we can do to keep that transfer station going.
And I actually was in with a meeting with the director of the transfer station. We went over some figures the day I was in there with him, and the other entity that is discussing about taking over, frankly, couldn't even come close to handling what Weber County Transfer Station currently handles, and they are also looking to, from what we were told, some expansion to accommodate further stuff in the future. The director of the Weber County Station told me on Saturdays, some days they have over 1,000 cars full of stuff, cars, trucks, whatever, that hit the Weber County Transfer Station. The other entity, which is the one on Midland Drive, couldn't. There's no way in the facilities they have they could even come close to accommodating that. And at this point in time, there are several things that they will not even accept. There's a lot of stuff that the Weber County accepts right now that the other place is not willing to take, partially because they're not set up to deal with it. But I would really hope, for the benefit of the residents of our city and the rest of Weber County, that we keep that Weber County Transfer Station open and flowing, because I just don't see anywhere else that could handle the volume, which is obviously going to do nothing but increase in the future.
Can I ask a question? So this one company you mentioned, did they go to the Ogden private transfer station because just a better rate is what?
Yes, they did. They went because of a better rate, and these are some concerns which we are all aware of. Anytime you only have one company, so even if the one company offers us a really good rate, which they could, maybe instead of 49, maybe for 1 year they say 47. If that though, then the Weber County one closes, we have one option. Then what is to keep that one company from keeping their rate, what they said. That rate could be whatever they wanted it to be, and we would have no option. That would be our only place that we could go. It turns, yes, exactly. You're right, Councilmember Hill. So we're hoping, we'll have another meeting. If you haven't been to the Weber County Transfer Station, affectionately known as the dump, and I go there multiple times every summer, it's really nice. They have done a lot of really nice improvements as far as where you dump the commercial, as far as with the green waste. Ogden Transfer Station is very nice. It was a very nice facility. They do not have the capacity, in my opinion, though, to handle everything that Weber Transfer Station does. Any other questions, discussion on that? Okay, so the next thing, a discussion possible motion. So last time I brought this here a couple of meetings ago, and so since this time, I actually went and visited the Riverdale Center, and so I have better information I feel like to give you this time. They actually sent me with this newsletter, and I'm happy to leave it here or pass along after the meeting if you would like to look at it. So, as I mentioned before, what they do is they charge $60 a year for their residents to come. That's not for their lunches. The lunches are $4 a piece that every resident pays, no matter what, or non-resident. Resident or non-resident pays. So when I went through this tour, and they have this calendar with all the list of things, so you go into the Riverdale Center, and one room is their aerobic room, one room is their weight room. They have a quilt room where they allow people that come in and make quilts. They have a crafting room, they have a woodworking room, multiple events going on, and all of these classes are taught by seniors that are all volunteers. And they said that the residents and non-residents, anyone can go, they feel more comfortable when it is their peers that are teaching them. No one who is 70 years old wants to go to an aerobic class taught by a 20-year-old because you cannot keep up. So they don't have a 20-year-old, they have another 70-year-old. These classes are open. So the center's open Monday through Friday from 8 o'clock until 3:30. And so anyone can go to these classes at any given time. They allow the Daughters of the Utah Pioneer to come and rent their space. Some of these organizations at one time were renting our space, but we really didn't have room.
Sorry to interrupt. If we could have you guys hold this sidebar conversation, it's a little distracting to what the mayor's saying, please.
Okay, anyway, so these are the times when they are open. And I was saying that the DUP and the Daughters of Utah Pioneer actually use their space now. At one time we had them here, but we didn't really have the room anymore once we started closing this off, and we were no longer renting our building out for outside groups. So what it is, it's $60 a year for anybody to go. What they do is they provide a voucher system where a city, so example, Riverdale City already does this, West Haven City already does this. They ask us if we would want to do this, where we pay $30 for each one of our residents per year that would want to go and take advantage of all these functions. We could create any kind of voucher that we would want. They would come here, they would pick up the voucher, they would take that to Riverdale, then they would only have to pay Riverdale $30 for the year. We would pay the additional $30. And the year starts whenever they start. So it doesn't have to start in January. If they start April 1st, excuse me, their year goes from April to April. Excuse me, I have some water here somewhere. I don't know where I put it. Okay, thank you. Thank you. So they said we have, and they named off several residents from Hooper, which I recognize their names that are going there. And they said they have already paid the $60. But if we did the voucher, they would credit them. They would work out something for them so they wouldn't be paying the $60. I asked about the meals, and like I already mentioned, everybody pays $4 a meal. So any discussion on this? Now I've explained it maybe a little better than I did last time. So I wrote down those numbers last time. It was some, we actively have anywhere from 6 to 10 that are going. They thought the very most we probably ever would be 15. In our budget, we already allocated $15 a month to do our lunches because that's what we were doing, and we allocated money to pay for 20 lunches at $15 every single month. So this would be significantly less.
So the one conversation that has been going around that I've had was an individual, in fact a couple, that have come up and said, well, would you be willing to pay for my gym membership instead of me going to Riverdale Senior Center? So my question again along that is, it sounds kind of miserly, but are we opening a can of worms into something else by engaging in, authorizing them to go to Riverdale City.
So, one thing that you may be aware of or may not be aware of, but when this building was built, some of the funds actually came from Weber Human Service because of the senior program, because we allowed senior lunches. And we no longer do that. We used to have senior lunches every single week, but then when they did away with funding, and Councilmember Hill and I went, and they designated, they were only going to allocate money for possibly 2, even 3. And so last year in the budget, we voted and we set aside money that we are giving to the Roy Senior Center. So I understand what they are saying about that with the gym membership. I feel like this is a little bit different. I feel like this is a service that we used to provide for our seniors that we no longer provide. We never did provide gym memberships. We did provide the ability for our seniors to come here and have lunch and play bingo and sing and do whatever they wanted, and we no longer do that for them.
Can you remind us, do we have an agreement with the Roy Senior Center, and what does that entail? Just remind us all what that involves.
We do have an agreement where we agreed to pay, and I don't have those numbers in front of me, but I'm thinking we agreed to pay. Morgan, can you let that? Okay. Yes, you will look that up. We are going to be paying a few thousand for them to go, but it still was something that was probably less, because if you take 20 times $15 times 12, that's what's in our budget right now. What was that? $3,600 that we had already set aside that we were going to be paying every year for our seniors. And I don't remember what.
So we're paying $4,000 a year, and our contract is through June 30th of 2028.
And that allows anybody to go to Roy.
Yes,
But not-
And again, that's Roy.
that's Roy. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, my opinion is, who do you give money to, who do you not? Who needs it worse, the seniors or the widowed mothers with children at home? Where do you start and stop? All I know is that I take care of my father's finances. He's going to be 95 years old, and what he gets out of Social Security and his retirement, he has money left over every month. He's helping some of the grandkids because they take him to Sam's Club, his favorite place, and so he's got plenty of money. I would imagine that most of these seniors can afford what we're trying to give, and I know it's not much, but I just think we need to be smart with our money, and if that's what it is, being smart with it, being that we take care of those seniors, so be it. I think all these seniors have kids that could help them out, because I know I'd sure help my dad out if he really wanted to go to the Riverdale Center. That's just my 2 cents.
Well, one thing, Riverdale didn't ask. We're not supporting Riverdale by doing this. Our people are already going. No seniors came and asked us for this, to do this. This was just something Riverdale said some other cities are doing to help out their seniors. So it definitely is up to the council what they would like to do.
So if I understand correctly, it would just be the $60 a year that we would be offering, or are we also paying for their lunches?
We only pay $30.
Right,
We
okay.
pay $30 a year, so if we had 20 seniors go, which so far we haven't, it would be $600 a year. But it's by case. So if we have 2 people, then 1 year we pay $60.
Okay, so they're not billing us like a flat rate, it's just whoever shows up.
Yes, they
And
will
can we
send.
cap it? Can we say like, we'll pay for up to 20?
So what we could do is if we say we are only going to do 20, we print off 20 vouchers. When those 20 vouchers are gone, when the 21st senior comes, then we say you should have jogged to the senior center to pick up your voucher, and you missed out.
Well, simply gonna do that in that jog,
Yeah.
Because I qualify, and I'm not gonna jog over here.
Yeah, I was being funny, trying to be Langford.
Look, I'm not opposed to us finding a way to support our seniors have access to these things if they're already utilizing it. To me, it's a nod to the generation that has gone before us. It's an investment in their continued health, their longevity around here, and having them remain active. When I was a teenager, I worked in a nursing home. Very clearly understood use it or lose it, and oftentimes seniors rely on programs like this to be able to maintain social interaction and health. So they look forward to these things. So this is just me, and I know this is dollars that we'd be spending, but if it's already budgeted, I don't feel like that 20 people for $600 a year goes over that budget. I feel like we stay within that. I wouldn't mind allocating the funds we were using for food to go towards something like this.
Well, in reality sets in, Councilman Fowers, Mayor Fowers, and myself might be using this in the immediate future. So hey, who knows? We maybe should keep it. And I'm the same way. I don't want to sound like a miser because it's not that big amount of money. But that question has popped up. You know, are we going to expand that? We don't have to. That was just something to discuss. And I'm Councilman Craig. I don't have a problem. And especially, we're not getting very large numbers even right now, so 20 vouchers might go a long, long time.
So let's talk about the numbers one more time, sorry. So we currently budget how much money towards this program as a whole? 4,000 to Roy, correct? And how much more did we budget? I can't remember.
So we budgeted enough for 20 meals every month at $15 a meal. And we stopped our meals, do you remember, maybe October-ish?
So 3,600 per year, and we're paying Roy 4,000.
Well, in our budget was 4,000 for Roy, and then we budgeted 3,600 for our senior meals.
Okay. So 7,600 total.
Yes.
Okay.
So if you wanted to cap it, if you so want to do that, we could say the first 20, so that would be $600.
That's nothing. So our intention, I mean, we have quite a few seniors going to the Roy Center currently, right? I mean, 20 to 30, I'm guessing.
Yeah, the numbers say that we have up and down. Mm-hmm.
To cap it 20 vouchers, I'd be in favor of allowing the Riverdale option as well, just for the social interaction.
Okay, any other comments on that, or is there someone that would like to make a motion then on this?
I would like to make a motion that we approve the spending for 20 vouchers for the Riverdale Senior Center yearly membership for seniors in our community to have access to the amount of $600.
Okay, the motion was made by Councilmember Craig. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second was made by Councilmember Hill. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Okay, motion carries. Okay, the next thing on the agenda is the motion approval of ordinance, and you can read that, 0/2026-02, amending Chapter 5 and adding Chapter 6 pertaining to the leasing of city-owned property. I just wanted to give a little clarification because the attorney had asked in our work meeting if Hooper City has ever had a resolution that has designated the mayor as the one who does sign those lease agreements. So the city recorder and myself went through our resolutions, and we could not find one. When I went back through the notes as far as when we started Hooper City leases, the first lease that I could find was in the year of 2014, and so we checked any resolution that we could find. We did not. And so then I actually called Mayor Corey Green, who was the mayor at that time, and asked him about this, and he said, no, they didn't. They never did, as far as he knew, a resolution. He said this was an administrative function, and being the mayor, he was the city administrator, and so he was the one that did those leases. And not that we need to go through all of this, but if anybody's interested, I went through and recorded then how many leases were done since that time as far as, and with that. I also reached out to to Madison, who is our LAA, because we do not have a city manager, and she responded back with a few different cities and how they handle this. I also reached out to West Haven, and some of the cities have city managers, and when they do, there is a resolution giving that city manager the authority to sign those lease agreements. When there was not a city manager, there still was a resolution that gives the mayor the authority to sign those resolutions. And so as our legal counsel noted before, it's not a matter of shifting because we do not have a code that says the mayor does sign those leases. This is just something that the mayor, an administrative function that has happened since 2014, that has happened with mayors since that time. So I just wanted to give that little bit of clarification to your answer. We do not currently have a resolution, and if that's something that we would want to do as a council, I would recommend then as having our attorney create a resolution for that. And now I'll turn on time for discussion on this.
Full disclosure on my part, I currently have a lease that I engaged in with the city prior, a long time before I ever sat in for city council. So I am going to recuse myself from this discussion.
Can he still discuss with us?
I think
But he just can't vote?
I think you can still discuss on this leasing code. I think you disclosed it.
Okay.
But if it comes to specifically dealing with your lease, that's where I think you're okay. I think you can discuss.
So the one thing I do know about leasing, there's this fun little legal term. It's called arbitrary and capricious. And if we decide to review leases that have been put into place a while back, and I don't even have any idea how many there is. I know there are a ton along the sloughs. I believe in order to avoid having someone yell at us, and I'm not going to yell at anybody, okay? I feed more hay in one day than I get off of this piece of property that I lease in the whole year, so it's not a big deal to me. If that were to be pulled, it would not freak me out in any way, shape, or form. But I don't know if we can go back and redo anything on any of these leases that we have already entered into.
I'll just stop you there. This would not be retroactive.
Okay,
This would not be retroactive apply.
it'd just be for future leases.
That is correct.
Okay, and there are some parcels of property that I have discovered that the city owns that I didn't know we owned. There's one up by the Holiday gas station that I had no idea that we owned. And so some pop up, maybe we could, engage in leases in some of them. I don't know how many other parcels we have that we would be looking at leasing.
And I was actually surprised to learn that we didn't have any leases prior to 2014, because we became a city in 2000. So what happened, what was going on with all that property here for 14 years? Who knows? But, anyway, and I don't know how many leases we have either, what the time frames on all those leases are, what the conditions are, what the agreements were. I would hope one thing for all the leases would be to care for the property, to keep the weeds down, to do whatever that keeps the city property aesthetically appealing. So, there's all kinds of things to review probably in these leases, but this actually came up last year, and we tabled it in December because we wanted to review it more. And since then, we've looked at other cities' policies. So this came from a majority of Clearfield's language. We looked at American Fork, Morgan. There was one more city, I can't remember. Anyway.
It's not there. It's not a no-brainer.
Yeah, the majority of the language came from Clearfield's ordinance. And so, being that we didn't have a current policy or ordinance governing leases in the city, we felt like it was important to probably put one in place.
So I'm just gonna bring this out in the open. Councilman Hill, I got chastised by you for acting in behalf of you. And then I get this thing here stating that whereas the City Council of Hooper City finds it necessary to clarify this, nobody ever called me. And that's what and you went and had the attorney write up this ordinance, and I just have a problem with that right after I get chastised that we're turning around doing the same thing. And I just wondering how long is all this gonna keep going on?
Like I said, it was
Why didn't we get a,
like I said, it was tabled in November from the previous city council that we needed to take action on further, so there's no chastisement going on.
Well, but this ordinance wasn't. This ordinance is new. The only portion that was tabled, and if you go back to what was tabled in December, the only portion that was just the part about the leasing. This ordinance where it says about the city council as far as, purchasing, selling, and leasing, ensure the purchases. If you go through this ordinance and you have 251, 252, 253, 254, all of those are currently in code. What was added on this was 255, and then the portion of chapter 6 that was in December. And so you're correct, part of this was tabled in December, but there's also new that was not tabled and was not discussed with anyone prior to having this written.
I have opinions I would like to share on this. Section 255 that was added specifically calls out that it would restrict any family member, straw buyer, or entity, individual, in which the elected officer, appointed officer, or municipal employee has a substantial interest. I have concerns with that language.
So that's just for purchasing, by the
Right,
way. That's not
Yep.
leasing.
Understood. I have concerns with that language specifically because I can't throw a rock and not hit somebody's relative in this city. And I don't think that because you put your hat in the ring to work for our city as a municipal person, you're out here working on our sewage lines and you're digging ditches for us all day long, and you happen to want to bid on a piece of property and you offer a fair deal to the city, that we should restrict that person and say you're not eligible to buy property from the city. Now, I fully understand not allowing somebody to get a special deal, any insider trading information, whatever, but if we're publicly noticing property we're selling, and anybody puts up a fair bid, and we accept that that bid is the best bid to benefit the city, who that person is and how they're associated with the city, I don't think has bearing, and I don't think puts us in a risk. There are specific things that I know legally, like if I were to try to purchase a property from the city, I would have to have my own lawyers, and if I was dealing with that with the lawyer, I couldn't use our city attorney to work with me on those things. There'd be conflicts. But it's my understanding that a conflict of interest is no longer a conflict of interest when it's openly disclosed and everybody is aware of what's going on, and it's done in a fair and open process. And so I do have some issue with restricting it to that. I don't have any personal interest in buying property right now, so this isn't just out of my own personal interest. But I just think of like our city employees who work in the city and they serve our city every day, and now we're telling them they don't have a right to buy property from the city if just because they work here, it's like they're being punished for working here. And so that doesn't make sense to me. I don't see where we have an ethical complaint here or why there's an issue with it, what's making it arise. And then my next opinion is on this idea that the city, with the approval of council, can lease these things. I agree, Mayor Bingham, that we haven't historically had this, but I would actually be in favor of keeping consistency with how we sell property. Selling property requires the mayor and the council to have an agreement together. I think that we could probably look at how we write this as far as when we say what's desirable, fair, appropriate, all that stuff. I think maybe we could write it in the form of new leases, but every time we renew a lease, I don't think it needs to come before a city council meeting to do it. If we're talking the 50-year leases on the slough, all that stuff, the lawyers already told us it's not going to be retroactive, so we don't have to go deal with that. But I would like to have the council informed in a public meeting about leasing property. Because like we talked about in our work meeting, there's things like the house that we own that we're leasing out to people, and I'd like to have more information and questions we could have asked, like, are they gonna have dogs? Who are those people? What are the agreements gonna be? And so I would like that to be more of a public discussion. And so I think that I would be in favor of the language saying that the mayor, with the approval of the council, can initiate new leases, things like that. But I don't think we need to be part of every renewal, and I don't think that we need to restrict people from buying property from the city if they're offering fair deals in a publicly noticed situation. That's my opinions.
Sorry. One bit of information that, because this was already going to be on our work meeting before it was brought to be on the agenda, because it was back in December, even before that last meeting, on December 11th, when I actually reached out to West Haven to ask how they do their leasing agreements, because this came up repeatedly. And one thing, because I would like to see us pass a resolution of how that's going to happen as well. One thing that they use is the USDA NASS rates, which I know Councilmember Fowers, you're very familiar with that, where they go on and then base those on, I don't know, it is a fair market value based on what agricultural rates are. And that gave very specific things with that, which I thought would be good information to look at.
Can I ask a question? Are you talking specifically about leasing?
Yes, this was about leasing. Yes.
Just so you know, I'm just letting the council know, and I told Ryan this already, I really like the language that's in there for leasing. The reason being is because it does take away liability from the city, because each piece of land is going to be very different. The pieces of land by the slough, I don't think we're really going to rent those out for fair market value. I think there's going to be, it's going to vary greatly by what we're dealing with. And so the language in there is very vague on purpose. So just letting you know that.
Yeah, I think that sounds good, but there are some tools in place. Like I mentioned, West Haven had sent me 3 different, and this is a lease agreement that they have as far as where they go to get the value of what it would be. And I do have just, I can tell you real quickly because it was brought up, because you said back, the very first leases that they ever had were the ones along the slough. So those are the ones that they did. And so they called them land maintenance agreements and trail property lease. And so under Mayor Green, there were 19 trail property leases done, 1 land maintenance agreement. Under Mayor Fowers, there were 6 trail, 1 maintenance. Under myself, 2 trail, 1 land.
So we have about 30-ish.
Do we have any parcels that in the future look like something we might be leasing out? And if so, where are they? Just so everybody knows.
And the reason why this had came up even in December, that I was already planning on doing it because I had someone had reached out about leasing a piece of property. That's why I went to West Haven and said, how do you do it? And it is a piece of property that is located on the corner of 5100 South and 5500 West. When I talked to both our Public Works Director and to Mayor Green, the whole reason we started leasing these properties to begin with is because it is an expense to the city to maintain them. So this particular piece of property, even though if you go on to GeoGizmo and look at the tax records, it says that the city owns 16 acres. Well, that's because it takes into account all of the land behind Hooper Landings that we currently are already leasing and the slough. So it's only a piece of property that would be probably around 3.5 acres that is costing the city's money to mow every year. And so it would be advantageous for it, and I had already intended on bringing that forward to you, and then, this came up, and so it would be a good discussion. We have other property that we could lease. For example, there's one on the corner of 5900 West and 5100 South, and what if we lease that out and we end up with a fizz on that corner? People in Hooper would appreciate that. You mentioned the piece that's up by the Holiday Station, or was it you, Councilmember Craig, that's up by the Holiday Station. Why aren't we looking at some of these parcels? We know the city is in need of revenue. There are some places that we could potentially look at, that we could, and even that one could be one we could sell. We already had someone that said they would gladly buy that and put something on it, some townhomes that next to the townhomes that could actually fill part of our moderate income housing. So I think this would be something really good to look at.
So, question for the attorney. A couple of these parcels, it's one of those places where kids on motorcycles ride a lot, and we have signs posted from the city restricting that use. Do we have liability as a city if someone, some young teenage boy, rides on one of those parcels of property that we own and crash and burns? Are we liable, from the city with that?
It's kind of a specific question. It depends on the kind of issues we're dealing with on that piece of land. But it is, if it's our land, and I think we already discussed that in the work meeting, that we're the landowners, and if there's anything dangerous on that land, then potentially we could be liable.
And the reason I asked that is I got told a long time ago from our insurance people, because we had a lot of ground around Hooper that we leased, that we farmed, but come fall, there were a multitude of people like to hunt pheasants on that ground. And our insurance guys told us to just at least post it, no trespassing, because that gave us a little headway, because if somebody walked out there and I didn't have that posted and they fell down and shot their leg off, that I could be held liable because I allowed them to engage in an inherently potentially dangerous activity, which struck me as being really dumb, but according to the insurance guys, if you got it posted, at least you have a leg to stand on. So that's why I was just kind of curious how much liability potential we have as a city on some of these. And I know the parcel that the mayor's talking about on the corner of 55 and 51, I'm pretty sure the individual that is looking at leasing that, I would assume, is the gentleman with the horses to the north. And I think city policy has been in the past, if somebody close to it wanted it, that was kind of where we were going to lean. I don't know if that's just what I heard through the grapevine. But I'm pretty sure if he did that, that he would obviously fence it, and that would eliminate one potential problem we have, because I know we have that signs up there for no motorized vehicles, but I drive past that place probably, 10 times a day, and I guarantee you that there's rarely 2 or 3 days in a row when I go by there and don't see somebody out there riding a motorcycle or something on that. And I understand kids need a place to ride, but I also know the neighbors across the street are tired of the noise and the dust, so there's issues both ways.
So a question then, if we, and this will be up to city council to vote on, so if they decided not to include this 2-5-5 and all this other code is the same, that's not a new ordinance. Writing the new ordinance would only be for the portion of doing the leasing.
Correct. So it'll just be the new chapter 6.
Chapter 6. And the only question I
Well,
have...
there was a word that I added in 253. No, I just added a word for clarity to kind of clarify that, but we don't have to keep that changed. It's just the word city.
Okay. One question I have on the leasing of the property where it talks about and equivalent property tax value. Again, you could go to what the tax value might say of that piece of property we were just talking about where the kids ride their bikes. It could say that the equivalent property tax value is considerable. Well, if we're wanting someone to lease that to maintain it, I would feel more comfortable again going to the USDA and getting what a pasture ground would be, more so than maybe the equivalent property tax.
So that's why it's, just to kind of respond to that, it's just fair. And if that's what you guys want to do is fair, if you want to look at fair market value, or if it's having to do with ag land and you're wanting to do it that way,
Yeah.
that's okay. This
as you read it in 261, it says, a lease, sublease city property under conditions as deemed desirable, fair, and appropriate, considering the intended land use. So we took out fair market value and just made it, like you said, fair and appropriate. So you could include all those things. That's part of the discussion as a council when we come up with the conditions and the terms of leasing the property to somebody, is we discuss what is fair and appropriate for that parcel of property.
Council, with code, as is written in 261, would it be implied that these are new initiated leases, or would this impose upon us the renewal of every lease?
This would include the renewal.
Yeah, so I don't feel that we need to have it come before council every time we renew a lease. I mean, I feel like if we've had a relationship with somebody, for instance, like these SLU properties, 50-year lease or whatever, like, I don't know if anyone's gonna be in their lifetime when they come back up, but unless it's like changing hands, going to a new person, or the situation has changed, I don't understand why we want it.
Sorry, the question is a little bit more specific. If the lease says that there's a renewal, then the lease would still guide. But
Okay,
if it's, say it's 50 years and there's no renewal term or something like that,
okay,
then
so that makes sense.
yeah.
So if the lease allows it to continue on as is written, beyond the lease terms or
Correct.
whatever, then it wouldn't, but if the lease ends at that date, then it would be a new lease
They would
essentially.
come up.
Okay,
I guess that's another question. So as we mentioned, with these trail leases, we have substantial. So if there is a new trail lease, so someone new comes in that hasn't been leasing that and wants to, city council, do you want to approve that? Or is that the same language? Because back when the council approved, the council actually approved the lease agreement on July 17th, 2014, that is actually a trail lease agreement. So if John Doe now has a house, he didn't have one before, do you want to approve his trail lease? Or if it's the similar, same trail lease that's been all along?
Well, again, I mean, we're trying to create revenue for the city, number one, right? We're trying to make our city aesthetically pleasing, to keep the weeds down, whatever. So if somebody with a current lease isn't meeting those terms, there's thistle weeds growing everywhere and they don't mow it or whatever, we should have the right to say, hey, John, we're gonna look at somebody else to take care of this property because it doesn't look so great anymore. That should be the council's ability to give that lease to somebody else rather than just put up what we've always put up with, right?
does this new ordinance address that? I don't feel like the language
It depends on the lease by lease terms. We don't know what's in all these leases terms and agreements.
So knowing that this wouldn't be retroactive, then it's not like this language would make us go review those.
So,
So then it's kind of moot, right? Because then it wouldn't matter. It's only applying to any new lease after this goes in place.
correct.
So it wouldn't have any effect against any of the ones we don't know anything about.
Well, and I would hope that we would, as a council, be able to review the current leases that we have and say, is this one expiring in a couple of years? Does it have a renewal agreement? Is it gonna just continue? I mean, what's the language in all these leases? I have no idea. Neither does anybody else up here.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you on that. I'm just saying I don't know if this ordinance solves that problem. I agree that we should be able to go look at that stuff, and I think as council, maybe we should, I don't know, do we have the authority to go look at leases that already exist? I think we do, and so we could look at those. I also am not sure how we enforce our existing leases. If we have somebody who reviews them and make sure people are adhering to the terms of those leases, so maybe that's something we could ask for information on how that's done. But I'm speaking specifically about this ordinance and and what it solves. To me, this ordinance solves getting the mayor involved with the council to approve new leases. And I'm in support of that. It's what we do for selling property, so I think leasing property, to me, a lease is more of a marriage contract than what selling property is. So if we're gonna have somebody involved in a relationship with our city, we probably wanna know what those conditions are. So I'm not opposed to that. And then I already said my point on the family thing, so.
Well, maybe to address you, Councilmember Hill, so we have 50-year leases. You mentioned we're trying to do revenue for the city. We have 50-year leases where we charge them $1 a year. But the reason for that is if they're not taking care of it, how much does that cost the city to go along and mow? A lot. So my thinking is if we have someone who has weeds and aren't doing that, rather than just saying, well, we're gonna let someone else do that, you would go to them and say, you know, part of your conditions of the lease are, will you mow this? And at least take care of it that way, because Councilmember Craig's right, this doesn't address any of our existing ones, and we're not going to go to somebody that already currently has a lease, and anybody at any time is welcome to come in and look through the folder of leases. Currently, we don't have any leases other than the 50-year that have, and 50 years is a long ways out, when the very first of those leases we did was in 2014. So we don't have any leases that are currently ready to expire. And that goes, so with the land maintenance agreement, part of that maintenance agreement is when the city intends to use that property. And currently, with the 2 land maintenance agreements we have, the city is not currently planning on using that. One thing we are going to have coming up here quickly that will be brought before council and we need to decide on, we will have 20 shares of Hooper irrigation water that we will be able to rent out, lease out, and so we will want to make sure that that's brought and we decide that one. Is there any other discussion on this? Is there somebody that is ready? Do you have some things?
I did come in and get a copy of the lease agreements because nobody talked to me about what was going on here. I probably assumed what was going on, that it was going to be against Ray Hancock's lease and Blake Bingham, so I did come pull up their leases. I do have them here. There is no end date on the lease. It's just showing the one was signed by Mayor Fowers when he was mayor, and the other one by Mayor Bingham. She is the mayor. And that, but there's not an end lease on that. And, I did talk to. I told him I wouldn't say so. Yeah.
And just for clarification, I was not the one that gave the lease to our son, Blake Bingham. That lease was actually done in 2022, and that lease was done by the previous Mayor Fowers. And it's a current binding lease, and I just wanted that made known because that has been said that I gave a lease to our son, and that is not correct.
So this ordinance has nothing to do with that.
No.
I mean, I don't know why we always have to go down the rabbit hole, but anyway.
Because nobody contacted us, and when it states in here that the city council has decided, that's referring to me.
Where does it say the city council decided?
Right here. This is what is in our packet. Right here, the city council decided, and also down here, I don't like the language that we're shifting the mayor's powers. I think what was written in that 6-1 or whatever it was, I didn't have a problem with it. This is what I've got a problem is that we're shifting the mayor's powers. There's better ways to say it than to...
Well, again, I didn't write this ordinance myself. I had our city attorney.
Without asking us what our opinion
I have
was.
an obligation to follow up on a table I made in December. I'm not just going to let something hang and sit there because I made the motion to table it. I'm going to finish what I said I would do. So this is finishing what I said I would do in December.
So why didn't you come to us and say, hey, this is what
I am coming to you. Here it is right here today.
Can we speak one at a time?
Let's discuss it. Let's discuss it. Let's change it. Let's amend it. Let's make it how you like it. All of us like it. This isn't me doing this. I don't know why you feel like that way. But
Because it's way wrong.
So anyway, I had our city attorney's help 100% of the way doing this. And it's my obligation and right, actually as a council member, to be able to put something on the agenda with a second that all of us can talk about and discuss. So that's what I do as a council member, just FYI.
I do have to just, because I did write this. What you're looking at is the proposed ordinance. And I think I discussed my research before that me and Matt have done the research first were thinking this was a transfer of the mayoral powers. But with the research, we found that the mayor, like I stated, it's been assumed that she doesn't really have the power by code, state code, or anything in the code. So there wouldn't be a transfer of mayoral powers. The reason why that was put in there is because we have to do it to follow procedure, if that's what we're doing. But it's just, that was something I put in there, just want to let you know. Just so there's not any question.
I guess my problem is we're not counseling as council members. Or somebody would have contacted me in advance to say, hey, this is what I put on here. What do you think, Larry? I think we could have, what do you think, Councilman Craig? I think we could have probably come up with something with our opinions instead of having to do it here and then possibly table it again until we get it corrected. But if this is how you want to do it, that's fine. I don't agree with it, is what I'm saying. I don't like the way how you did it.
Like I said, this was initiated before you ever got here. And so I'm following up on what I said I would do and finish. This is a product of that. So if I did something in your view that was wrong, I apologize. But in my 12 years of doing this, this is the way we do things.
So is there someone, we have an ordinance here with a motion to approve the ordinance. So is there someone would like to make the motion to approve ordinance 0202-602 that is before you?
I'll make the motion to approve ordinance O-2026-02 regarding city-owned leasing of real property.
So the motion was made by Councilmember Hill. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second was made by Councilmember Fowers. Because this is an ordinance, we need to do a roll call vote.
Do we
Councilmember.
have a discussion, Brian?
Oh, yes, discussion.
Is the motion made and seconded based on the language as it stands today, or considering amending it to some of the suggestions that were made?
We can amend it.
As far as the discussion process, and I'm not making my vote, but just my opinion, I would not be in favor of it as it stands. I would be in favor of it with the removal of the explicit requirement of people, or prohibition of people who are family members and all of that. So the 2-5-5, and I support the 2-6-1. So I'm fine with that. But that's my opinion.
So as we mentioned before, then that would not be this ordinance, because we already have in code 2-5-1, 2-5-2. So what we would be then bringing back would be only the ordinance then on the leasing of city property, which was the ordinance that was tabled in December. So we could have that on the next agenda. If this is not the ordinance as is that you want to, is that correct? We could bring back that ordinance.
We could do that, or we could just either way.
Yeah, it's my understanding
Bring
that
it
the
back next time,
substitute.
or we could make the amendments today.
I say we make them today. Why wait?
And so just so you know, 255 is word for word from the Clearfield City ordinance.
Understood.
And that's why we put that in there, is because we felt like it was good language. It takes out conflicts of interest of any kind. I don't know what else, council. Any other reason that language is viable, in your opinion?
I can't give the policy advice. I think this is something that Councilmember Hill wanted. It does protect against conflicts of interest. That's true. It's not required by state code to have this language. I think cities adopted to get rid of the appearance of a conflict and to avoid conflicts. That's the reason why cities do it.
So I agree with Councilman Craig, and maybe I have a little bit of a personal interest. I have 7 kids living out here and my father, and so we are saying they cannot do any of this stuff because I took office. I was voted in as office, and so I'm with him. I think that my kids, if they put up a fair offer, that they shouldn't be held without being able to do it.
Yeah, I just feel like a fair offer is a fair offer. I don't care who people are related to. And I feel like we already have rules that say we have to publicly disclose the sale of property and all of that stuff. And so if as a city we're saying, hey, everyone, here's a notice we're selling this, and by the way, John's cousin's buying it, like, there's not really a conflict. Everyone knows publicly. All these people made bids and we sold it to John's cousin, you know what I mean? And so for me, I understand optics, people could try to twist things or whatever, but the reality is we took a fair offer, it was publicly done in front of everyone, and we're not detrimenting. And like I said, even not so much as me, but even the language talks about municipal workers, and I have a hard time saying because you got employed by the Upper City, you can't buy property from the city. That seems like we're punishing people who want to work for us. It's my opinion. I've said it a bunch, I'm sorry, I digress.
So if there is an amendment to the motion, then if we aren't including that, then we would just start with the language of chapter 6, leasing of real property.
Correct. I'm trying to make, I can make some changes and get it to Morgan.
So we've already had a motion, we've already had a second.
Could I amend my motion then?
Is that, he can amend his motion? Okay.
I would appreciate an amendment if we're gonna, yes.
So I'll amend my motion to approve 2026-02 without the language in 5-5-2.
Some of that still isn't though, because if you go up at the whereas and it talks about shift powers of the mayor, so none of this needs to be in chapter 5. The only thing we need to be approving then is beginning with chapter 6, leasing of real property. And so the motion would actually be then for an ordinance of the 02, or what, excuse me, whatever the number was, 02/02602, and that would just start, we would be creating a new chapter 6, and everything up above that would not be included in the ordinance or the motion.
So moved.
Oh,
That's
okay,
fair.
okay, so the motion then was made by Councilmember Hill. Is there a second?
I'll second Council Hill's and with just what is it, 0-2026-02 and leaving out everything else.
Okay, so the second was made by Councilmember Rappaletto. Is there any discussion on this motion? Okay, we have to do a roll call vote, so we will start with Councilmember Hill. Councilmember Rappaletto.
Aye.
Councilmember Craig.
Aye.
Councilmember Hancock.
Aye.
Councilmember Flowers.
Aye.
Okay, that motion carries. Okay, seeing nothing else on our agenda, we do not have any possible closed meeting unless if there is somebody that has anything they would like to bring forward to move into a closed meeting. If not, then I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
I'll move that we adjourn.
Okay, the motion was made by Councilmember Craig, seconded by Councilmember Hancock. All in favor, say aye. Okay, thank you.
Oh, thanks.